All right, so today we're going to deep dive into aviation inspectors.
Yeah, a career path for anyone really interested in making sure that the skies are safe, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And we've got some great resources for this one.
We do. RoleCatcher has put together some really in-depth career guides,
Oh, wow.
lots of sample interview questions, and they even have AI tools that can help folks prepare.
So it's almost like having an experienced aviation inspector and a career coach
Mm-hmm.
all in one.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into the interview questions, maybe you can kind of paint a picture for us.
Okay.
What does an aviation inspector actually do?
So imagine yourself on the tarmac. You're meticulously going over an aircraft,
Uh,
looking for any signs of wear and tear. You're checking every bolt, every wire, every system to make sure it meets those really strict safety standards.
yeah.
Or you might be at an air traffic control center,
Okay.
evaluating their communication equipment, the procedures they use, making sure everything's running smoothly, safely.
So you're the last line of defense in a way.
You really are. You're protecting against potential hazards. It's a big responsibility.
So it's a mix of hands-on inspections
Yeah.
and then making sure people are following all these regulations.
Right.
I imagine attention to detail is really important.
Oh, absolutely. And the role catcher guide, it highlights that mechanical knowledge is just key here, gives it a 92% importance rating.
Wow.
You need a deep understanding of how these aircraft work, inside and out.
That makes sense. But what about some of the other skills they need? I saw something about transportation knowledge being important too.
Yeah, that's right. It actually comes in at 81%.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not just about the aircraft itself. You got to understand the whole aviation system, weather patterns that could impact flight routes, the logistics of ground operations. It's all interconnected.
So you're not just focused on the plane itself, but the whole environment it operates in.
Exactly.
And I imagine communication skills are also really important.
Oh, for sure. That's got a 75% importance rating. You got to be able to write detailed reports, explain these complex regulations to pilots and mechanics, all kinds of professionals.
That's a demanding role.
Yeah.
I see why RoleCatcher talks about the importance of like AI-powered resume tailoring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Making sure you hit all those keywords and stuff.
Yeah, their AI analyzes the descriptions, and it suggests ways to improve your resume, make sure you're highlighting the right skills and experience.
Putting your best foot forward.
Exactly.
Okay, I think we have a good sense of what the job is.
Yeah.
But let's get to the heart of it,
Yep.
the interview.
All right.
RoleCatcher has some sample questions.
They do. Some really good ones.
Should we just dive into those?
Let's do it. I think these questions, they're really going to help folks prepare.
Okay, perfect. So the first question they give is, what inspired you to pursue a career in aviation inspection? This is your chance to showcase your passion.
It is. You want to avoid generic answers here. Really think about it. Was there a specific experience that sparked your interest in aviation safety?
Okay.
Was it watching planes as a kid, a documentary you saw about air crashes, or even a personal experience that made you realize, wow, inspections are crucial?
Yeah, I think it's also important to connect that passion with the impact of the role.
Yeah.
You're not just inspecting a widget, you're contributing to the safety of all these lives.
For sure. And be ready for follow-up questions. They might ask you to, elaborate on your experience, connect it to something specific in the job.
Oh, good point.
Like, tell me about a time you demonstrated really meticulous attention to detail, something like that.
Okay, so on to question number 2. They ask, what are the primary responsibilities of an aviation inspector?
Okay.
This one seems pretty straightforward, but I'm guessing they want more than a simple list.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Don't just rattle off a bunch of tasks. Use action verbs, Paint a picture of what you'd be doing. Inspecting aircraft, enforcing regulations, investigating incidents, collaborating with people, making sure everything meets those high safety standards.
It shows that you've really thought about what the job actually entails,
Mm-hmm.
that you've done your research.
Yeah. And these kinds of questions, they often lead to follow-ups about specific procedures or regulations.
Oh, good point.
Like they might say, how would you approach inspecting a specific aircraft component? Or what are the key FAA regulations that you'd really focus on?
Okay, so be ready to go deep.
Yeah.
Now, question number 3 asks, what experience do you have working with different types of aircraft?
All right.
If you have direct experience, this is your time to shine.
Exactly. Highlight the types of aircraft you've worked with, the tasks you've done, any certifications or licenses you hold. It's all about showing that you've got that practical knowledge.
Okay, but what if you don't have that direct experience with aircraft?
Well, that's where you focus on transferable skills.
Hmm.
Have you worked in an environment where Safety was really important. Have you conducted detailed inspections? Maybe managed some complex technical projects?
Ah, okay.
Talk about that and really emphasize how adaptable you are and your willingness to learn. The aviation industry is always changing, you know?
Yeah.
That willingness to learn is really valuable.
And I'm guessing this is where RoleCatcher's AI can come in handy again.
Definitely. Their CV builder, it can analyze what the job requires and suggest how to highlight those transferable skills. It's like having a personalized coach helping you tailor your application.
Okay, so question number 4 is, what steps do you take to ensure compliance with FAA regulations?
Right.
This is a big one, right? Aviation inspectors are the ones enforcing those regulations.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to demonstrate that you understand them and that you have that meticulous approach.
Right.
Use phrases like, I would first consult the latest FAA handbook, or I always cross-reference regulations with, things like that.
It's not just about knowing the rules. It's showing that you're proactive about making sure they're followed.
Right.
Okay, be ready to discuss some specific scenarios and how you'd handle potential violations.
Yeah, they might ask, what would you do if you saw a mechanic not following proper maintenance procedures? You got to show that you can handle those situations professionally and diplomatically, but also uphold those safety standards.
Okay, so it's technical knowledge plus problem solving plus interpersonal skills.
Exactly.
All right, on to question number 5. How do you stay up to date with changes in the aviation industry?
All right. This is all about demonstrating your commitment to continuous learning.
Yeah.
Mention specific publications you read, conferences you attend, training programs you've done. Highlight that proactive approach to staying ahead of the curve.
And again, RoleCatcher's AI can be helpful here.
Oh, for sure. They can suggest industry resources, even connect you with potential mentors in the field. It's like a personalized learning pathway.
Okay, very cool. So question 6, they ask, have you ever identified a safety issue during an inspection? If so, how did you handle it? So this is one of those classic behavioral questions, right, where they want a concrete example.
Right. So if you have a relevant experience, share it. Be specific about the issue, what steps you took, and the outcome.
Right.
It's your chance to really show those problem-solving skills.
Right.
And your commitment to safety.
And I imagine it's not just about identifying the problem. You need to communicate effectively, follow the proper procedures, document everything accurately.
Oh, absolutely. They want to see that you can handle a sensitive situation like that professionally and diplomatically.
Okay, so question number 7 asks, how do you approach conducting an investigation into an aviation incident?
All right.
This one sounds pretty in-depth.
It is. Explain your step-by-step process. Highlight your attention to detail, objectivity, thoroughness. You might mention experience you have with accident investigation techniques or your knowledge of regulations, how you gather and analyze evidence.
It's like being a detective, right?
Yeah.
Like piecing together the puzzle to prevent future incidents.
Right. And don't forget the communication and collaboration aspect.
Right.
These investigations often involve a lot of different people. Pilots, maintenance crews, air traffic control, regulatory agencies. You got to show that you can work effectively with all of them.
All right, so question number 8 is, how do you manage competing priorities when conducting inspections?
Okay, so this one's getting at your organizational skills and how well you handle pressure.
Yeah.
Explain your approach to prioritization. Maybe even give an example. Do you use scheduling tools? Are you good at delegating? Can you stay focused and efficient when there's a lot going on?
They're looking for someone who can juggle all those responsibilities without compromising on accuracy and safety.
Exactly. And they might throw in a hypothetical scenario, like imagine you're doing an inspection, you find a potential safety issue, but you also have a tight deadline for another task. How would you handle both?
So think on your feet. Okay, question number 9. How do you ensure that your team is up to date with changes in the aviation industry? This sounds like it's geared towards leadership skills.
It is. They want to see if you can create a culture of continuous learning within a team.
Right. Talk about regular training sessions, sharing industry publications, encouraging professional development, creating an environment where everyone shares knowledge openly.
A good follow-up they might ask is, what strategies have you used to motivate your team to embrace that continuous learning? How do you inspire people?
Okay, and last but not least, question 10. How do you ensure that your inspections are conducted with a high level of accuracy and attention to detail?
All right, this one is all about that meticulous approach.
Right.
Describe your process. Maybe even use an example. Do you use checklists? Double check your work. Are you really strict about following procedures?
And this is also a good time to highlight the importance of documentation and record keeping.
Absolutely. Those records can be really crucial if there's ever an incident or an investigation.
Right. And before we move on, I just wanted to remind everyone that RoleCatcher has that awesome interview practice feature, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can record your answers to practice questions, and their AI give you feedback.
You're like having a virtual mock interview.
With a seasoned professional.
Exactly. They analyze your delivery, your content, your clarity, all that.
Okay, so we've covered a lot with these interview questions,
We have.
but there's more to talk about,
Right.
like career advancement and how RoleCatcher's tools can help with that.
Definitely. Let's dig into that next. So let's say you ace that interview. You got the job.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Where do you go from there?
Well, the good news is an aviation inspector, it's not a dead-end job.
Oh, good.
There are actually a lot of opportunities for growth
Okay.
and specialization. And the RoleCatcher Guide, it highlights a few different paths you could take.
Oh, cool. You could go into management,
Oh.
lead a whole team of inspectors, or maybe you want to specialize in a particular area, like aircraft maintenance or avionics, even air traffic control.
So you can become like a real expert in a niche part of aviation.
Exactly. And I bet those certifications we talked about, those would definitely help with that.
Yeah, for sure.
The guide mentions FAA certifications, which those are obviously key.
Yeah.
But there are also ICAO certifications,
Okay.
and those open doors to international opportunities.
Wow. So you could potentially work all over the world.
Yeah, it all comes down to your own ambitions and interests, right? But the point is, you have options.
That's exciting. So how does RoleCatcher help with all of that?
Well, their AI can, analyze your skills and experience
Okay.
and suggest, certifications that would be good for you, or even specific job openings that match your profile.
So it's not just about getting that first job. It's about like supporting your whole career.
Exactly. And they have this huge database, over 9 million employer records. You can search by industry, by location, even specific job openings that you're interested in.
It's like having a global directory of aviation employers.
Mm-hmm. And their algorithms, they match you with companies that are looking for candidates just like you.
Okay, that's really cool. So let's say you're starting out as an entry-level aviation inspector. What would that look like typically?
So, according to RoleCatcher's career progression outline, at that stage, you'd mainly be doing those basic inspections, following set procedures, making sure things comply with regulations, really building that solid foundation in safety.
Okay, you're learning the ropes,
Okay.
mastering the fundamental.
Then you move up to junior aviation inspector. You get more responsibility there, maybe leading small teams, doing more complex inspections, even taking part in some investigations.
So you're starting to like hone your skills and maybe specialize a little.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, you could reach that senior aviation inspector level. There, you're overseeing teams, you're managing those really complex projects, you're ensuring that the highest safety standards are being met.
So it's a clear progression. More responsibility, more opportunities to lead.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher, they can help guide you through every single step, suggesting training, certifications, job openings, all based on what you've already done and where you want to go.
I remember their career guide mentioned internships and apprenticeships.
Oh, yeah.
Are those important for this kind of career?
They're super valuable. It's a way to get that hands-on experience, get your foot in the door, look for opportunities at aviation maintenance facilities, air traffic control centers, maybe even at a regulatory agency.
So you can see the work firsthand and make some connections.
Mm-hmm. And RoleCatcher, they can even help you find those opportunities. They have a whole section on internships and apprenticeships specifically for aviation.
Okay, that's great. So we've talked about like the practical side of things. What about the personal qualities that you need to be successful as an aviation inspector?
Well, beyond those technical skills, there are some traits that are absolutely essential.
Okay.
The guide talks about, meticulous attention to detail, that strong sense of responsibility, and just this real commitment to safety. Like, that has to come first.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You're dealing with people's lives.
Exactly. You also got to be able to work independently, but also as part of a team, You're collaborating with all these folks. Pilots, mechanics, air traffic controllers.
So good communication skills are key.
Absolutely. You got to be able to explain things clearly and concisely, both when you're talking and when you're writing. And of course, you have to be okay working in a fast-paced environment. Sometimes it's going to be stressful.
Yeah, I imagine. Knowing that your work has such a direct impact on safety, that must be a lot of pressure.
It can be. But for the right person, someone who thrives in that kind of environment, who's really passionate about aviation safety, it can be a very rewarding career.
And RoleCatcher, they have those AI tools that can help you, like, assess your own strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
Yeah. They give you personalized feedback, guidance, all tailored to what you want to do.
Okay, so it's not just about getting the job, it's about doing well in it.
Exactly. And that's what makes them such a great resource.
So we've talked about the career path, the skills you need, those personal qualities, and all the resources that RoleCatcher has.
Right.
But before we finish up, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier, the future of aviation.
Okay.
How do you think all these technological advancements are going to impact the role of an aviation inspector?
It's a really interesting question. Something all aspiring inspectors should be thinking about, for sure.
Yeah.
We're seeing drone technology becoming more common, autonomous aircraft.
Right. And then there's space tourism. It's starting to, well, take off.
Exactly. So how will these things impact the role of the inspector? Well, for one, they're going to need even more knowledge, and they're going to have to adapt.
Okay.
They need to stay ahead of the curve, understanding these new technologies, what they mean for safety. So it's not just about inspecting the planes we have now. It's about, like, looking ahead.
Exactly. What kind of inspections will we need for, say, an autonomous aircraft? How will space tourism change safety protocols?
That's a lot to think about.
It is. It's a really dynamic field, constantly changing.
Sounds exciting.
It is exciting. You're not just applying rules, you're learning, you're adapting, you're shaping the future of aviation safety.
And that brings us back to RoleCatcher. Their platform could be really useful for folks interested in this career.
Definitely. Especially with all these changes happening.
Yeah.
Their AI can help you stay up to date, learn about new technologies, even connect with experts.
So it's like a guide to navigating the future of aviation.
Exactly. And their interview practice. That's still going to be important because as the industry changes, the interview questions will too.
Oh, for sure.
RoleCatcher can help you prepare for that.
All right, so let's wrap up. What are the key takeaways from our deep dive today?
Well, we talked about what it actually means to be an aviation inspector. All those skills you need. Technical, analytical, communication.
Right. Then we went into the knowledge and experience that's important.
That mechanical expertise, understanding those transportation systems, clear communication.
And we spent a lot of time on those interview questions.
Yeah. How to approach them, showcase your passion, your experience, your dedication to safety.
And of course, we talked about all the great resources RoleCatcher offers. They can really help you at every stage.
Absolutely. So remember, getting that aviation inspector job, it's just the start. Lots of opportunities for growth from there. Specialization, leadership, all sorts of things.
And the industry's constantly changing.
That's right. So never stop learning, stay curious, and keep asking yourself, how can I help make aviation safer?
That's it for our deep dive. Hope you found it helpful and inspiring. Keep your eyes on the sky and your aspirations high.